Hello, welcome to another tonal landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy. And the painting I'm bringing you today is called Morning by the Sea. It's a 4x6, and I painted this, I guess, around a week ago or so. You see me just oiling out that board real quick, and people in the members area would know what I'm up to there. So the board it's MDF, it's been prepped with 3 coats of house paint. That takes on a bit of a texture. I use a foam roller to apply the paint, which gives me a fairly smooth result. But like I said, you build up texture, especially in the corners. So I like to sand that down, and that gives that board kind of a milky feel. So one of the main reasons for oiling out the board is to get rid of that and see the true color of the board. Also, it allows me to be able to race. And I say that all the time. I'm sorry to repeat myself, but I know we're always getting new people, and here you go. This scene's very interesting. It is a very, 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 very loose riff on a Charles Warren Eaton scene. It is so loose that I'm not even calling it a riff, but Eaton would do these sort of pines, and I basically I'm giving him attribution. I basically lifted a compositional element. One huge difference, though, is he had like this big, tall, like pine tree right up, say, see where the middle line of my grid is. It would have been there. I got rid of that, and I actually installed some kind of road, and then I started doing all this stuff. Next thing you know, it came out to be a very interesting composition. Now you can see I was thinking of putting a little doohickey down there on R on the left side in the middle, maybe to stop the eye. But I ended up the other thing is too, you can see that was going to be the horizon line. But invariably, I notice it's good to lower that. And when I did lower it to that little bit of trees, distant trees or bushes or whatever it could have been, it just went away. Yeah, which is good. You want to constantly be evaluating what you're doing. The whole purpose of the underpainting session is to try out ideas, work out your basic composition. You're going to see here that I felt the intervals between those trees. There you go. A subtle change, but you can see I add a little more width there. You always want to have a sensitivity to that, especially with vertical forms like trees. If you have, clouds is another one. Oh my goodness! But if you have your positive objects, you really want to pay attention to the negative space that they're creating, and if the intervals between them are too consistent, then that is a bit of a fail. Yeah. And compositional fails are very hard to overcome. In fact, there's a lot of things in your painting that you can get away with. Maybe your rendering wasn't that great, or your values are slightly off, or your color's a little flat, or who knows. But people could be fairly forgiving of a lot of this stuff, but if you have compositional issues, your painting's pretty much just bad. I'm sorry. Yeah. But the good news is, if you have the ability to, of course, when we're first painting, our ability to perceive issues is, not very good, to say the least. And you've got to, even your art critics and stuff, if you really get into I've known art historians and stuff and gotten into deep conversations with them, and they don't know much about composition. They do have opinions about paintings, though, and their opinions are quite valid, I would say that. But you coming at it from the standpoint of an artist, composition is a palpable thing, and one of the reasons I'm constantly stressing to paint more often and gain more experience is because that's really the only way that I know of to develop your compositional sense, to get enough paintings under your belt that you can start looking at some of the stuff in the past and going, oh yeah, that doesn't work, and then you won't do that again. And then when you, it's not infinite the amount of arrangements and varieties that you can do in the landscape. In one sense it is, but if you zoom out to a macro level, you have trees interacting with skies, interacting with paths, interacting with seas. You know, the sorts of arrangements that are going to be pleasing, they're not infinite. They're not infinite at all. That said, I'm not really into doing formulaic compositions, although this is a L shape, totally. Um, I don't, but so maybe you could say that's a formula, or you could just say I didn't worry about trying to create an original composition, and I don't. I don't really worry too much about that. What I worry about, I come to each scene sort of fresh and saying, how can I, get an emotional quality across in the scene, and how can I move the eye of the viewer through the scene? Anyway, we're going to pick this up right after we talk about the book. Yeah, the book is 13 years or more of tonalist painting information. It's a sort of how-to approach, a lot like many other painting books out there, except this one's better. Well, I don't know if it's better. I'm kidding, but I think it's better because it's obviously going to teach you how to paint in a way that I like to paint. Or at least it's going to do its best. So check that out. $60. International shipping is included. Yeah, yeah. I'll be happy to get it to you anywhere on the planet. Okay, so yeah, we have an L. An L is a totally valid type of composition. A lot of times L's can shift into the like steelyard, where you have a mass on one side, a larger mass opposing a smaller mass, and you can see I was maybe making an attempt at that. But for a long time, younger Mike the painter, would have been thinking that this was not okay, just to leave everything open on that on one side, as I did. The water's open, the land's open, there's nothing stopping the eye. However, it's fine. It works fine. It works just as good as can be. It may be, in fact, a lot of this could be too a function of the size. Now, an argument can be made that a composition that works small is going to work the same big, but when things are bigger, you do have more room. I could have maybe interjected some small plants or something there. But as it turns out, that that openness where we come in from the water is kind of self-reinforcing. The edge of the picture itself will stop the eye and then pull you back. And the path is very, very powerful. And paths are incredibly powerful. And I don't know, I haven't done a survey of the channel recently, but it's highly probable that I put a path in every painting I do. I have a real addiction to doing that, and the reason that I do is because it is so powerful, so effective at, first of all, resolving like what can be a very stagnant area of the painting, which is the foreground. It takes care of that very easily because it moves you right through the foreground and deeper into the scene. So you can't beat that. But also paths invite you, the viewer, to move into the painting. So there's another trick I've been doing lately. The reference in the ground was just this bunch of grass with big lumpy piles of grass. And by the way, you can have a really good look at that reference. It's very interesting, I will say. Not what you're expecting. Not really a photo. In the members area, it comes up prior to the rest of the video. And the members area, that's $6 a month US, and Google gets half that. I get half. It's not too bad to get an extra $3 here and there. But honestly, people tip in and tip out. It's what it is the real time recordings of the painting sessions. So I do impart a lot of information. However, I'm also really just doing my job as a landscape painter, and the camera's on. So I think it's illuminating. It's not to everyone's taste. And sometimes, oh, hey, you know what? It's been a while since I mentioned it, but go to the playlist area of my channel. If you say, oh, I don't have $6. Okay. If you don't have $6, and that's all right, I understand. Because we're all getting squeezed, yo. Uh, Go to the playlist portion, and I made all of the initial live videos of the channel from 2019. I made those freely available because my logic was, well, there's plenty of, here's 5 years ago now, so there's plenty of great stuff in the members area for the members, and there is. And I may do that. I may continue to do that when we move into the new year. I may make everything from 2020 that was live freely available. This is a funny world we live in right now. We're all trying to find ways to make some money and survive. At the same time, there are increasing amounts of information hitting all of us all the time. And as there is more information around, the value of information becomes diffused, right? Now, that's not to say that, like, information I was imparting in the video today, I know it's valuable, and if it may have been just the tip or trick that you needed to hear to move your work into another space, that's always where I'm coming from. But a balance has to be struck. That's the thing. It's maybe even a spiritual thing. I don't know. I can't go much deeper than that. But I try to strike a balance between being a grubber, have you please support me and all that, and just being a dude sharing what he does. And at the end of the day, as you maybe noticed, I don't ask for the likes or the comments or any of that. I was reviewing a video from 5 years ago, and I was doing that there, and that's because every YouTuber was doing that. I figured that's what you do, but I've never been that comfortable with it. Like the video if you want, comment if you want, come if you want, and if you don't, then there's plenty of other stuff for you to look at out there in the world, right? You know. Anyway, so oh yeah, this area of grass and stuff was really challenging, and then I really didn't like what was in the reference, but. And since you've been kind enough to get this far in the video and listen to me burble on this long, let's impart some strategies. Right, one of my favorite strategies for these areas of nothing, these just grass or whatever, is, and you'll see it there. I just started plunking big amounts of red in there, and it's shapes that could be rocks or could be something else, but just about anything except a big gradation of green from dark to light. So, and I'm actually super stoked with the way that came out. I do like for these sorts of scenes to get maybe a little more rock and sand in them, but this is an outlook over the sea, so um, it works just fine. We're on a hill or something. We're looking over the ocean. I'm really stoked with it. I really think it's beautiful. And I know sometimes these tree and sea paintings aren't as popular in the channel, but that gets back to what I was saying before. If you like the tree and sea paintings, well, maybe slap down a comment or something. Let me know. If you don't, you're not watching them. Either way, I'm gonna put some up because it's part of what I do. It's part of my process. This sort of thing is fairly popular for me out here, and so it's a part of my process. But I won't become an absolute slave. If the New Zealand market had its way, all I'd be doing would be trees and seas. And that's not all I do. I do lots of different things, and I really enjoy the challenge of painting the sea. I never thought I would, but you can see how when we brought in that white water, it really made it. And funny enough, we have just a minute left here. every time I go after these waves, I always have this feeling in my gut, like, what am I doing? How's this going to work out? And invariably, when I'm looking at it, reviewing the video later, it's like, well, that looks just fine. It looks really good. Anyway, until I come back with another video for your, hopefully for your edification and enjoyment, do me a favor, do me a solid, take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. Stay out of trouble. God bless you and your family. And while you're doing all that, do some painting and fight the power.